A boulder pinned his arm in the middle of an empty canyon. 5 days later, he cut it off to survive. This is not a story of heroism in the way we usually tell it. No clean rescue, no sudden bravery. This is a story of 5 days in a crack in the earth, in the burning heart of southern Utah, where a 27-year-old man was slowly consumed by heat, thirst, and the terrifying arithmetic of survival. It is a story about what the human mind does when it has run out of every option except the one it cannot bring itself to imagine. His name was Aron Ralston. Before April 26, 2003, almost nobody had heard of him. Ralston was raised in Denver and consumed by the mountains from childhood. He double majored in mechanical engineering and French at Carnegie Mellon, worked for Intel for 5 years, then quit, moved to Aspen, and dedicated himself to becoming the first person to solo all 59 of Colorado's 14ers in winter. He had climbed Denali. He had survived avalanches and frostbite. With every close call, he grew not more cautious, but more certain. He felt, in his own words, practically invincible. That conviction would prove to be exactly the problem. In late April 2003, a planned trip fell through and Ralston decided on a solo road trip to Utah. Last minute, no itinerary, no plans left with anyone. On April 25th, he parked in the remote Robbers Roost area of southeastern Utah and planned a 13-mile loop for the following morning. He estimated 8 hours. He did not tell his roommates where he was going. He did not leave a note. He did not call anyone. His supplies, 2 burritos, 4 candy bars, approximately 3 liters of water, and a cheap multi-tool with a dull 2-inch blade. 3 liters was not enough water for a warm April desert hike. But Aron Ralston had done this before, and he was 27 and the canyon was waiting. Bluejohn Canyon runs 11 miles through eastern Wayne County, carved so deep and narrow by ancient floodwater that walls press within 2 to 3 feet of each other and rise 200 feet overhead. It is one of the finest slot canyons in the American Southwest. It is also utterly indifferent to the people who enter it. By mid-afternoon on April 26th, Ralston was deep in the lower narrows when he encountered a chockstone, a boulder wedged between the walls. He grabbed it with both hands to lower himself past it, and then it moved. The boulder shifted, dropped, and pinned his right wrist against the sandstone wall with 800 pounds of force. It happened in 2 seconds. He pulled, he pushed, he twisted. He rigged a rope pulley to lever the boulder. The boulder did not move by a single millimeter. Aron Ralston was pinned in a 3-foot-wide slot canyon, 8 miles from his vehicle, with no phone, no signal, and no one on Earth who knew where he was. The first hours were built on effort and desperate optimism. But as the strip of sky above him turned black, the truth settled in with the cold. Nobody knew he was here. There was no reason for anyone to worry. Not yet. On the second day, he picked up his video camera. It's 3:05 on Sunday. This marks my 24-hour mark of being stuck in Bluejohn Canyon. My name is Aron Ralston. Whoever finds this, please make an attempt to get this to my parents. Without blood flow, the tissue below the pinch point had begun to die. By day 3, the hand was gray. By day 4, black-green at the edges. The arm below the boulder was decomposing while still attached to his body. His multi-tool blade was far too dull and short to cut through bone. He concluded on the 3rd day that he was going to die in this canyon. He stopped trying to move the rock. He lay against the wall and let the full weight of it reach him. The love he had not fully expressed, the people going about their ordinary lives completely unaware he was here. He could not outclimb this. He could not outthink this. On the 4th day, he carved his name into the sandstone wall. Below his name, his date of birth, October 27, 1975. Below that, the date he believed he would die, April 29, 2003. He had inscribed his own epitaph. On the 5th day, he told the camera he loved his parents, told them not to blame themselves, and turned it off. Then the water ran out entirely. He drank his own urine. He knew it was not a solution. He drank it anyway, because doing nothing was the one thing he could not choose. That night he began to hallucinate. He saw himself in a sunny room, a small boy, perhaps 3 years old, playing on the floor. The boy looked up and laughed, and he saw himself in this vision with only one arm. He has described this image as an absolute certainty, not a wish or a dream, a prophecy, a future that already existed, containing a child, containing love, requiring him to still be alive to reach it. He woke on the morning of May 1st, the sixth day, with purpose. His arm was mottled black and green, the smell of gangrene unmistakable. It was already dead. And in that moment, something shifted with the force of a key turning in a lock. He did not have to cut through bone. He could break it. The radius and ulna were already compromised by 5 days of pressure. If he used his body as a torque mechanism, throwing himself against the opposite wall while pulling on the boulder, he could snap both bones. He was a mechanical engineer. He understood torque. He applied his tourniquet, camelback tubing cinched tight, locked with a carabiner. He positioned himself, braced against the canyon wall, and threw himself against it. The radius snapped. He repositioned. The ulna snapped. He had perhaps 20 minutes. He pressed the blade against the skin of his forearm. The skin separated. The muscle gave way in layers. He clamped the pliers onto the tendons the blade could not sever and wrenched through them. Each one sent fire through his arm and into his shoulder. One nerve remained, a single white strand at the center. He reached it with the blade. It felt like pressing a live wire against bare skin. He severed it. He cut the arteries, wrapped the stump tightly, and made it tight. At approximately 10:30 in the morning on May 1st, 2003, 127 hours after the boulder had first trapped him, Aron Ralston stepped backward out of the crack in the canyon wall. His right arm, from 3 inches below the elbow, remained behind. He was free. He allowed himself 30 seconds. The tourniquet was holding. He felt something he has never fully been able to name. Not triumph, not relief. The simple, overwhelming animal joy of being alive. Then he shouldered his pack one-handed and started walking. The canyon still had a 65-foot rappel ahead. One-armed and bleeding, he set the anchor, rigged the belay, and descended. At the base, he found a small pool of rainwater and dropped to his knees. It tasted perfect. He walked 6 miles through the desert heat until he heard voices. A Dutch family on vacation came around a bend and saw a man stumbling toward them with one arm, face the color of chalk, shirt wrapped around a stump. They already knew a search was underway. A helicopter found him approximately 4 hours after the amputation. The surgeons marveled at the precision of the tourniquet and the controlled bleeding. He had lost 40 pounds. He had lost 25% of his blood volume. He had lost his right arm below the elbow. He was alive. Ralston appeared on every major American talk show. GQ named him Man of the Year. In 2010, Danny Boyle released 127 Hours, starring James Franco, earning 6 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. Meanwhile, Rex Tanner of Grand County Search and Rescue offered a quieter verdict. 15 trained volunteers had risked their lives in lethal terrain because one man had made preventable decisions and told no one where he was going. It was a fair criticism. Ralston eventually acknowledged it. He continued to climb. By 2005, he had completed his original goal. In 2009, he married. In February 2010, his son Leo was born, the child he had seen in his vision on the 5th night. Ralston held him with one arm. The years after were not uncomplicated. Depression, loss, a marriage that ended. And he has spoken honestly about the difference between surviving and healing. Survival is biological. Healing is something else. There is a version of this story that ends with lessons. Carry enough water, tell someone where you're going, never go alone. These are true and important, and they were purchased at a cost no one should have to pay. But the deeper version lives in the video diary, in the sound of a man speaking to a camera at 3:05 on a Sunday afternoon, calm and haggard and honest, in a way that people rarely are when they believe they'll survive to revise their account of themselves. It is a story about what happens in the dark, at the bottom of the earth, when the water runs out, and the only question left is whether you are willing to do the most terrible thing you have ever imagined in order to see what comes next. Aron Ralston was willing, and what came next was his son Leo, growing up with a father who had one arm and knew exactly what it had cost him, and who would never again leave for the wilderness without telling someone where he was going.